Hey, how's it going? My name is Vashilos, if you didn't already know, and today I want to talk to you about a build I'm currently working on, as well as a whole heck of a lot of people are working on. It's one of the most powerful and expensive builds in 3.25 Settlers of Kalgur, and you guessed it, it's Ephemeral Edgelord Trickster. I'm sorry, but I'm doing it a little bit differently, so hopefully you'll hear me out. I'm using Lancing Steel of Spraying because I just think it's a superior skill. It's got built-in pierce, it's got a lot of projectiles, and it's just really good at clearing, and the single target isn't bad, at least with what I've been doing so far. Not going to say that what I'm doing is the best possible solution for the build across all walks of the game. What I am trying to say is that I have prioritized speed, so I'm trying to go as fast as I can. I am not trying to do the whole curse thing that a lot of people are doing with like anathema. It may be strong, but it's just not really what I want to do. I'm going to be going forward with elemental resistance inversion again. We're going to be using Ball of Flask Tech. If you don't know what that is, I'm going to leave it right here or right over there. It'll like pop up below. And I recommend that you go click that link. It'll give you a complete understanding of Ball and what I like to do with that in my builds. I'll leave it there. And really, I can't drive it home enough. This is a stepping stone guide. I am here to talk to you about what you can do to get your foot in the door for this build without breaking the bank. I'm going to offer you a bunch of different unique items as like runner-up and things that you can do while leveling, as well as I will try to talk to you about some of the more important chase items, as well as the order that you should pursue those chase items in, because I think that is important. But first, before all of that, I really would like to show you what my version of the build is going to feel like. So this is what it looks like. We have our Lancing Steel of Spraying. I know this is Blood Aqueducts. It's not supposed to be impressive. This is just to show you what it would feel like, right? I'm using my Leap Slam. We're moving around pretty fast. All of my damage steroids are attached to the focus button that you just saw me click. And if you're not familiar with what those damage steroids are, since I haven't talked about them yet, Tornado, Flame Wall, and Arcane Cloak, as well as since focus is giving us this modifier 35% increased attack speed, you can craft that on with the bench, or you could, do like an endgame craft. But not really here to talk to you about endgame crafts. Maybe in a later video. But yeah, this is what it looks like. We are using mines to gain our frenzy charges. The power charges aren't really useful to us because we're using precise technique. If you're not familiar with what precise technique is, we can't deal critical strikes. So those power charges are useless to us. And that's one of the reasons why I didn't really want to spend passive points on power charges and an anathema. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. I'm sure a lot of minus resistances is way more powerful and reliable, but I just like inverting resistances. I think that's really what I need to say. Not the best thing probably, but sure is convenient and requires me to do, in my opinion, more interesting things, instead of just stacking a bunch of curses. That's the build, right? I press focus, I get my frenzy charges, I gain a bunch of movement speed from Smoke Mine, and I move around with Leap Slam. Press my main skill. If you don't want to use Automate, right? As you see, I've been automatically detonating all of my mines. If you don't want to use it, hey, be my guest. You don't have to use Smoke Mine. You can use like Frostblink instead. And then you could use the auras of the mine you're employing, whether that is Stormblast Mine or Pyroclast Mine. And you could benefit from the aura that they provide, right? You certainly have the leftover mana because we're only using 2 auras. That would be Haste and Discipline. While you're leveling, I'm going to show you in the path of building that you're going to pick up a lot more mana reservation that I have right now, because you won't have something like a Storm Shroud that solves your ailment immunity. So you would instead be using like Purity of Elements and stuff. So I think that's really what I wanted to talk to you about. Just quick additional things that I'm doing differently is, besides that anathema, I'm using a Call of the Brotherhood to engage with Trinity, because without Call of the Brotherhood, I would only be dealing lightning damage, and that would not satisfy Trinity at all. But with Call of the Brotherhood, completely satisfied. Also got that in my last video if you want to go and check it out in a more well-rounded description, but I'm just going to leave it there. Peripeteia gives us attack speed, gives us movement speed. This is a shield that is probably a little controversial. Most of you are like, why aren't you using Aegis Aurora? I'm completely aware that Aegis Aurora is the superior defensive option, but that's not really what I want to do. I want to go fast. Peripeteia lets me go pretty fast. Blightwell. This is as cheap as it gets, and as competitive as it gets for your energy shield amulet. Most expensive option is probably going to be like a simplex amulet. You're obviously not going to have one of those while you're working towards it. So Blightwell would be my recommendation. While you're on your way there, I would recommend a Karui Ward or a Carnage Heart. Carnage Heart, obviously better than a Karui Ward, but Karui Ward has a lower level requirement. The belt I would recommend while you're leveling is the Magnate, until you can get your hands on the Darkness Enthroned, but that also needs to have the flash charges solved, because I'm Balbala. We need flash charges gained from somewhere, and since we don't have our Mage Blood yet, that's why we're using Balbala. We'll need 25% increased flash charges. Pick up Careful Conservationist. Boom, we can use Darkness Enthroned instead of the Magnate. If you don't like the Prepatea, then Kong Ming Stratagem, Aegis Aurora. That's really all there is to write home about it. And if you need some helmet recommendations while you're leveling, I would recommend Crown of Thorns, and then swap over to Mind of the Council, because Mind of the Council, while it doesn't have many defensive qualities, it lets you benefit from some of the mana you may have been stacking up while adding more and more intelligence to your build, which is the primary focus, by the way. We really, really, really value intelligence. It's probably going to be on just about every single rare item you have, maybe even some of the unique items. And that's how we scale all of our damage. We scale Energy Shield through intelligence, and some of our passive points, Cluster Jewels, and then Ephemeral Edge does just about all of the work. Let's start talking about the POB. First up is the leveling section for the skills. I want you to make a duelist, and the only reason I want you to make a duelist is so that you can take the splitting steel that is offered to them in Lion's Eye and put that in your inventory, because you're going to be giving it to your Trickster. Once you're on your Trickster, you're going to attach Prismatic Burst, elemental damage with attacks, and returning projectiles. Discipline, Haste, and Purity of Elements are the R's that you care about while you're in the campaign. Purity of Elements takes priority over Haste, so if you can't fit all of them in, I would recommend Discipline and Purity of Elements. Sniper's Mark is your curse of choice. Flame Wall, Tornado, and Arcanist Brand are what you will use until you can get a helmet that triggers the socketed spells when you focus. Arcane Cloak is the guard choice that I'm going to be moving forward with. We're going to have some excess mana. We're scaling mana as well by scaling intelligence. It may not be a massive portion of damage, but it is defensive and offensive, and I really like that. Let me know what you think in the comments. I'm not completely sold on it yet. It may come and go depending on how powerful I think it is, but for now, yeah, I'm going to go ahead and recommend Arcane Cloak. Leap Slam, Frost Blink, those are our movement skills of choice in the campaign. You can use Flame Dash if you really so please. Precision, Vitality, and Clarity. These are use as necessary, so only use them if you need them. If you don't feel like you need Vitality or Clarity, nice. You are not worried about that socket pressure. You are not worried about that reservation pressure. If you are using them, the easiest way you can shed your need for Vitality and Clarity is going to be picking up some Leech through Clever Thief and the Instant Leech Mastery. Beyond that, Precision will eventually be shed by including a pair of Shaper's Touch. That's a pair of unique gloves. And then you will be able to shed Shaper's Touch by using a Resolute Technique Ephemeral Edge. But I'm gonna go over all of that once we're in the gear section as well. Like I said, swap over to Lancing Steel of Spring as soon as possible. And Lancing Steel of Spring. These gems that you see right here in the leveling section attached to Lancing Steel of Spring are in case you don't have your Call of Brotherhood, which would let you engage with Trinity support, or if you do not have Elemental Penetration support, which even I don't have Elemental Penetration support yet on my current character, so I thought, you know what, I should include some alternatives. Those alternatives are Energy Shield Leech and Damage on Full Life. Energy Shield Leech, super powerful, defensive and offensive. Damage on full life, we have permanent uptime for being on full life because we're going to be Chaos Inoculation. Only one life means that we're always full life. Let's go over the endgame skill section real quick. I know I showed you what it looks like in the Blood Aqueducts, but I think this is going to be useful for anybody who, learns in a different way maybe. So, Lancing Steel of Spring. The support gems are as follows. Elemental Damage with attacks, Elemental Penetration, Trinity, Returning Projectiles, Volatility. These are the ones I'm going forward with. They may change. I'll try to give you an update in a future video about my in-game optimizations. Caster damage taken, Frost Shield, Smoke Mine. You don't have to use Smoke Mine if you don't want to. It can feel clunky to some people. Tornado, Arcane Cloak, Flame Wall. I also put Culling Strike on my Tornado because I didn't have Culling Strike anywhere else. That all goes in the helmet, and they are activated not by using them, but by pressing focus. So I have a lot of different things happening with focus. Automation and detonate mines. You don't have to do this. Like I said during the Blood Aqueducts, you can just throw those mines, and they'll also give you an aura benefit. And then you can just detonate them whenever you feel like you need the frenzy charges, or if you feel like their duration is about to end, detonate them, get the frenzy charges, throw some more out, and now you get the frenzy charges and the aura buff of the mines. A little clunky. Let me just give that an asterisk right there. What I just talked about, it's super clunky, and you will absolutely notice a difference in your gameplay. But if you're looking to squeeze out more damage, I really do want to let you know that that's something that you can do. The only auras we're using late game, or at least I'm using late game, are Discipline and Haste. I don't know if that's going to come back to bite me, but so far it feels good. Leap Slam is the only other movement skill that I'm using besides Smoke Mine. Sorry, I was having a little bit of a brain fart because it's like in the leveling section, I'm able to organize it by like, oh yeah, I'm putting the movement skills next to each other, but whenever I import, it puts them based on the item that they're socketed in. Sorry, I don't mean to complain. I just got a little jumbled there and was like, what am I talking about? Anyways, Pyroclast Mine. This is how I get my frenzy charges. The only mandatory support gem for this kind of engagement is charged mines. So you would need either Pyroclast mines or you would need the shock mines. I'm blanking on them right now. What are they called? Stormblast mines. So Pyroclast mines or Stormblast mines, depending on which aura buff you want, and charged mines. That's how you get the frenzy charges. You don't care about the power charges because we're going to be using Precise Technique. Let me show you what that does. Precise Technique, 40% more attack damage, and then we never deal critical strikes. So it does have a downside, but it's really not that much of a downside because we can't invest into critical strike chance anyways. That's the skills. And we are now going to move on to a different section of the POB. I'll see you there. All right, let's go through the gear section now. First up is going to be the campaign and leveling drop down. There's 5 sections. I'm going to try and go through them as fast as I possibly can. Ephemeral Edge build isn't going to work without it. You can equip it at level 32. That's when you should equip it, is as soon as possible. Light of Lunaris. This is the highest amount of energy shield I could find on a low-level unique item, and that's why I'm recommending it. It's going to make Ephemeral Edge work that much better. Crown of Thorns, there's no level requirement, high amount of energy shield. You're noticing a common theme here. Ghost Drive, this is going to convert a lot of your maximum life over to energy shield, give you some chaos resistance so that you don't immediately die to that damage type if you don't have a way to prevent it going through that energy shield yet. And again, all that energy shield, it's just to help out Ephemeral Edge while you're going through the campaign because you probably just don't have a lot of it yet. Put on some Shaper's Touch Crusader gloves whenever you can, as that will allow you to get rid of precision like I was talking about earlier. The reason why is because we get 4 accuracy rating per 2 intelligence. That's one of our scaling mechanisms, is stacking intelligence. Wake of Destruction. This is just a lot of lightning damage to your attacks while you're still leveling. You can put them on at level 28. That's really all there is to say about it. It gives you lightning damage when you really don't have all that much. Karui Ward. This is going to give you dexterity and strength when you don't have those stats, and it is an absolute lifesaver. Can't recommend it enough. It's going to help that early game feel all much stronger. And then you can graduate over towards a Carnage Heart, as it gives you more attributes, it gives you all elemental resistances, and then it gives you extra damage while leeching, which is something that we're already going to be doing. Call of the Brotherhood, buy one as soon as you possibly can, as it will allow you to get rid of Prismatic Burst that I was talking about earlier, and instead replace it with Trinity. I think we pick up Trinity in Act 2, so yeah, really try to pick up one of these rings as soon as you hit level 20. Other than that, it's just like a normal rare ring. There's nothing even commentable about it. It's a Moonstone ring. It's for energy shield. Look for those on the ground if you want to fit in more energy shield. The Magnate. This is in reference towards the Balbala setup that I have going for you. It gives us the increased flash charges that we need to support those flasks before we get our Mage Blood. And again, just to highlight, the whole reason why we're using Balbala flask setup in this build is to hold us over until we can afford a Mage Blood. Let's move on to another gear section, and that would be for mapping. A lot of it's going to be very similar, but by this point you should make the choice for your new shield, whether it's Peripetea. You know my choice. I'm going to be choosing Peripetea. Or you can use Aegis Aurora, but it's really up to you. Personal preference, in my opinion. For the helmet, you should no longer be using a Crown of Thorns. You should be using a Mind of the Council. Your body armor should no longer be a... Oh goodness, I'm blanking on it. Ghost Writhe. Sorry. It should no longer be a Ghost Writhe. It should be a Cloak of Defiance because it's going to engage with your Ascendancy a lot better. You can put that evasion to far greater use as a trickster, and that is why I would recommend Cloak of Defiance over a Ghost Writhe for the pure, like, raw energy shield that Ghost Writhe provides. Already went over Shaper's Touch, Carnage Heart, Call of the Brotherhood, Darkness Enthroned. This is the belt that you should be using when you're mapping, or when you can finally spare the passive points to pick up Careful Conservationist. Because without Careful Conservationist, you need the Magnate. Once you have Careful Conservationist, you can get rid of Magnate and use whatever belt you want before picking up a Mage Blood. Once you have the Mage Blood, you can get rid of Careful Conservationist. You don't care about flash charges at that point. I'll quit beating you over the head with that explanation. Here's some of the flasks that I'm currently using. 20 all elemental resistances, chance to avoid being stunned, and then obviously chance to avoid being shocked, as I don't want to use Purity of Elements anymore at this point. Powerful items that you should be aiming for. The only one that I really need to like drive it home for you, like this is the most important thing you need to be focusing on, as it sets into motion you being able to address everything else that you want to do in the build. And the item I'm talking about is Ephemeral Edge with Resolute Technique. Let me just hover over that real quick. As you can see there at the top on the implicit, it says Resolute Technique. That means that you no longer care about accuracy. You can get rid of your Shaper's Touch. You don't need precision. You don't need the passive points. You don't need any of it, right? You can just completely forego caring about accuracy. And this really should be your first big purchase. I do not care if it is the worst one on the face of Rayclass. Buy it first. It is going to be a lifesaver in helping you address everything else that this build is going to demand from you. And some of it can get pretty expensive. So really don't break the bank. Just, buy one from like 40% to 45% increased maximum energy shield. And once you're like min-maxing, come back, buy an even better one, maybe with a double implicit or something. I don't know. But yeah, everything else here, it's really just all about energy shield. It's all about intelligence. Simplex Amulet and Helical Ring, they are going to cost you an arm and a leg. These are some of the last crafts that you should be doing. And even then, to have them perfectly crafted, you're going to probably need to engage with Reflecting Mist. That is an RNG crapshoot. I wish you luck. I'm going to also hopefully be participating in that, but I am going to try and temper my expectations as to how good I'm actually going to get my Simplex or Helical Ring to be. And obviously a Mage Blood, this is something that we're aiming for, but everything else in the build, it's really just to show you that we're on our way to that. There are many ways that we can solve needing flash charges and providing different belts that are still useful to us on the way. The other important modifier that I would like to talk to you about is the focus modifiers. The helmet modifier is incredibly important. As you heard me talk in the skills section, when we press focus, it is not only giving us attack speed through our gloves, but it is triggering all of the socketed spells in our helmet, and that can range from curses, that can range from tornado to flame wall, to things that have culling strike attached to them, to all sorts of different damage steroids, and it is important for the build. Another important modifier I need to talk to you guys about is the spell suppression on this chest piece. This is, again, a super in-game, turbo expensive craft to get it at 22%, but if you can get it at 22% on the chest piece, you can also pick up some tattoos, as you see here. Quite a few of them, in all honesty. I think it's like, what is it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9? 9 or 10 tattoos. And that will allow you to, instead of spending 4 passive points on Instinct, save those, put them towards one of your very expensive large cluster jewels. And now I need to go over the cluster jewels with you. You're going to be using 4. 2 of them will be 12 passives, and then the other 2 will be 8 passives. On the 8 passive jewels, I want you to get Veteran Defender as a staple. You need Veteran Defender. After that, the next staple will either be Feed the Fury or Fuel the Fight, and a suffix. It can be Heavy Hitter, it can be Smite the Weak, it can be Martial Prowess. I think be sure to test out in Path of Building before using your own in-game currency, or go over to Craft of Exile to test out as well. But the reason why I'm listing it out for you like that is that with Feed the Fury or Fuel the Fight and then a suffix, Veteran Defender will be forced to the bottom, and that is what you really want as a notable out of these 8 passive large cluster jewels. For the 12 passives, you're going to want 35% increased effect, and maximum energy shield and intelligence are a staple. 35% energy shield, intelligence. From there, you will hopefully hit either attack speed or all elemental resistances to help you solve that on your jewels instead of somewhere else, and then you can reinvest accordingly. These are in-game crafts, albeit they are one of the first end-game crafts that you should be working on, as they allow you to redistribute your passive points and then pick up a lot of additional jewels, which can further enhance your build. The jewels can get really expensive. I'm not really going to go over the jewels here in this build guide. One, because this is supposed to be introductory, not really comprehensive beyond that. And those jewels are absolutely not cheap. So not really any point in me mentioning them on a introductory guide. For the other sections, recent import, that's just my recent character. Not much else to say about it. If you want to take a look, take a look. I think one thing to say about it is Blightwell. I am using Blightwell instead of the other amulets I've talked about so far. Couldn't recommend it more. I like it. Gives me a lot of energy shield. And then this is like runner-up items if you need like a quick place to reference all of the different placeholder unique items that I've talked to you about here today in this video guide. Lightning round. Let's go over these passive trees. First up is campaign and leveling. This one is designed around Ghost Wraith, so put on a Ghost Wraith, benefit from all of that life being converted over to energy shield. That's why these nodes are being taken. As well as it's designed from the perspective of what if I'm playing solo self-found? What if I don't have everything I need yet? Even some of the like stepping stone unique items may not be in my possession. That's what the purpose of this tree is, and I hope it helps you in that regard. Moving on, once you're ready to make the swap to Chaos Inoculation, that's what this tree is for. Rule of thumb, I would just say 2,500, maybe 3,000 energy shield. You're probably good to make the swap over to Chaos Inoculation. Here is a level 100 passive tree. The point of this is to show you what your passive tree is going to look like once you've got all of your cluster jewels. So that would be 2 12 passive cluster jewels and then 2 8 passive cluster jewels. They're all of the same type, which would be 12% increased attack damage while holding a shield, but you need 2 and 2. So 12, 2 passive, 12, holy tongue twister, 12 passive, stop! 2 12 passive cluster jewels and 2 8 passive cluster jewels. I'm moving on. Next passive tree, please. Recent import. This is what my character currently looks like. It's my most recent import. If you want to know what I look like up to date at all times, I would recommend you go over to my PoE profile page, as that will be far more accurate than the POB at the time of posting, as I'm always making changes. I play every single day. I stream every single day. I hope you'll tune in sometime. All right. I think that's everything I have to say about Ephemeral Edgelord Trickster for now. May bring a more min-maxed guide later on down the road, but who's to say? Never know what's going to happen. And I would also like to apologize for how long my accuracy stacking Reeve Juggernaut video was. That was like 54 minutes long. I got this one down below 30 minutes. That was my goal. I'm hopefully going to be able to compress them even more in the future and take all of that tertiary superfluous information out and provide to you what I think is important, all of the things that are really going to help develop your understanding of what you need to care about and get you into the game so you can start making currency and having fun. That's what I think this video is about, is bringing an extremely scalable and expensive build to an audience that might not be able to engage with it if they are not shown how they can reach those heights one small step at a time. Sorry for my William Shatner speaking pattern, but sometimes speaking extemporaneously requires me to take a moment and think about what I want to say next. So, yeah. Thanks for tuning in. I'm a very small fish in a very large pond. Any like, comment, view, subscribe, anything. Even if you like share this to people who don't even play Path of Exile and they spend time on it, thank you very much. You have no idea how much it means, and I hope that you will tune in next time. Stay safe, have fun, and yeah, peace out.